Hey Stampers, welcome to Brandy's Cards. So I hope you guys are doing good, and I hope that your summer is off to a great start. So with summer comes butterflies and birds and all of those wonderful things. And as you know, in our new Stampin Up annual catalog, Creativity is Calling, we've got some really great bird stamp sets and some with butterflies and so forth. And so I was excited. I pulled out some bright colors and was excited to share with you how I created this card. Now first, I want to tell you that I actually saw a card like this card inside the Stampin' Up! Catalog, and that's where my inspiration came from. I wanted to start with that butterfly because it's fabulous, and then I sort of built around it. So the Creativity is Calling. This is our new annual catalog. It started June 4th of 2019 and it goes through June 2nd of 2020. This catalog is fantastic. Just so many neat ideas and lots of inspiration in these pages. So that is one of my most favorite things about the catalog is I keep it on my table, my craft table, and when I'm wanting to craft but I can't really come up with my mojo, I look through the pages, and throughout these pages here you'll see all kinds of wonderful designs and layouts and so forth. And so I usually start there. So on page 79 of this catalog, let's see, let me turn there really quick. Okay, here we go. So on page 79 of this catalog, you're gonna see this butterfly. And so that was my inspiration to create my card today. So let me show you my card. This is the one that I created, and here's the one that Stampin' Up! Created. Now I used Granny Apple Green, and I used some Daffodil Delight, and I used some of the lovely lipstick. Now looks like they may have used Old Olive, and maybe they used a different pink. I'm not totally sure, but I switched mine up just a wee bit because I wanted it just a bit brighter. So that is my card, and this was the Stampin' Up! Card. All right, and I sort of kept with this same layout, sort of. Theirs is more of an upright card. This one is 5.5 by 4.25, and you'll see that I added some vellum back here. They had some vellum as well, but they used the Starburst punch. So I did mine just a little bit different, but along the same lines, okay? And so if you ever hear anybody talk about casing a card, copy and share everything. It is totally okay to case my card or another demonstrator's card and to use it, to give it to a friend or family member. The reason we do these videos is to inspire you to create and to send cards and share your talent with others, okay? All right, so let's go ahead and flip through here. I believe on page 131, there it is right there. Okay, so this is the stamp set that we use today. It's called Beautiful Day. It's not new in this catalog. It actually was out last year, but I loved it, and I just thought it was beautiful. And I liked the butterfly, and it was perfect for this project. So this is the stamp set that we're going to use today. So I'm going to go ahead and put my catalog aside, and I think we're going to go ahead and get started. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to fold our base in half. Now if you're new to Brandy's Cards, don't worry, all of the sizes and the dimensions will be on brandyscards.com. And if you get there and you're like, okay, where is this project? Not to worry. You'll see up in the navigational bar, you'll see videos. If you click on videos, all my videos will come up and you'll see the picture of this card. Now, if it doesn't come up, which it should, in theory it should, but if it doesn't, that's okay. Just go ahead and type in Beautiful Day in the search bar, Beautiful Day stamp set or Beautiful Day just alone like that, and this card should come up. All right, and if all else fails, send me an email and I'll be more than happy to email you the link so that you can download a PDF and that you can have access to the sizes and the dimensions for this card. Now, as I was sharing with you where to find everything, I just put some mini dimensionals here on the back of this piece. This piece is just sort of to mat the card or to the butterfly. Now one thing here is you could totally, if you have a die cutting machine, you can totally use an embossing folder and add some more texture and dimension to this. I wanted all of my focus on the butterfly today, so I'm keeping it simple. And sometimes, you know, simple is totally okay, all right? So I've got Flirty Flamingo cardstock, and I want this to finish at about 3 1/4. So I actually cut it at 3 1/2. It is a little bit harder to rip when you're trying, or tear I should say, when you want it to be a bit smaller like that. So you might just cut it a little bit bigger, maybe 3 3/4, so then you're tearing off a 1/2 inch. It's a little bit easier. So I just basically hand tore that piece off and just sort of ruffling my edge a wee bit. Now I have a piece of Daffodil Delight, and I'm going to go ahead and put some Stampin' Dimensionals behind this piece as well. And I just really, I liked the dimension of this card. So I just kept bringing it, you know, bringing it up higher, I guess. So we're going to layer the Daffodil Delight piece right here on top of our Flirty Flamingo. And that looks great. So that worked out super good. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add some liquid adhesive, and I'm just going to adhere my Flirty Flamingo straight to the top of my card base. See? Just like that. And I'm going to let that sort of, you know, kind of stick, if you will. You know, before I put away my liquid adhesive, I do have some vellum. Now, you know, I know where my butterfly is going to sit, but just to be on the safe side, I think what I'm going to do is I will glue the vellum down after I cut out my butterfly. So I'm going to set my card base aside, and let's move on to our butterfly. That's the fun part, right? Is the butterfly and all the fun that you can have creating that. So I've got a piece of scrap paper here. I have Versamark, a watermark stamp pad, and so that's what you're going to use to ink up your butterfly. But first I have my embossing buddy. Basically this has just got powder in it, so it keeps the embossing powder from sticking to other parts of your cardstock. So I'm just kind of, you know, tapping it and rubbing it all over my my cardstock. Now we're going to ink up our butterfly in Versamark. So we're going to add a bunch of Versamark on here, make sure it's really good and sticky, because that is what's going to hold our embossing powder. And we're going to take it over here to our paper, give it a good firm push straight down and straight up, and you can actually see the butterfly. Now I have a piece of scrap paper here. A lot of times I'll put my embossing powder in bins and so forth, but today I'm just going to go ahead and sprinkle it straight on top of the butterfly, and right out of the jar here. And so I'm just kind of going all down my butterfly. See, you want good coverage because you want it to get the whole thing. And then you can kind of bend it, drop it back in there, and then of course you can tap it off on a scrap sheet of paper. And then at that point I'll also later I'll also put any extra back into my container. So I'm going to go ahead and set that aside. Now we have our butterfly, and it's just beautiful. I have our heat tool, and so I'm going to go ahead and heat the embossing powder, which then it will raise and it turns white. It's absolutely brilliant. If you've never used embossing powder, you must. It is definitely a must-have. And I think others that have used it will say, oh yeah, it's pretty awesome. It's so fun to watch it melt. And so as you watch here, you'll see it start to melt. And then all I do is I just follow it along the butterfly, because you want to make sure you get all the pieces melted. You don't want to leave anything that's not melted, and you don't want to burn a hole in it either. So be careful and just kind of watch it move and kind of follow along with it. And don't stay in any one spot for too long. Trust me. It does get pretty darn hot. And if it's hot when you're holding the paper, just use your snips or a tool to kind of hold it down. Okay? So there you go. There is our butterfly. Now, I know it's probably hard for you to see here, but he is all done, and now it's time to color him. So I'm going to start from the outside and work my way in. And so I have Granny Apple Green here. And so I'm going to take my dark Granny Apple Green marker first. And I'm just going to kind of put a few wispies in here, just like this. And then I'm going to come to the outside edge and just kind of add some dark green in here. And I'm going to go all the way down and I'm going to add my dark green, just all the way down the edge of my butterfly. And here, I think I actually sort of, let's see, this one is going to be the colors and this one is also going to be the colors. So this one here is going to be the green, and you can even have some green, some darker green coming out from the other side as well. And we've got some dark green here, and then along the inside bottom of our butterfly. So all I'm doing is just adding some dark. Now I'm going to go get my light Granny Apple Green marker, and we're going to try to do some shading, all right? And so all I'm doing now is I am just here at the top, just kind of lightening that line and shading that in. It's going to start to kind of get lighter as it goes out, the gradation in color. That's what we're looking for. I'm doing some light circles here on the edges. Now I have had a couple of people say, oh, I just can't figure out the blends. Well, you know what? Quite honestly, the Stampin' Blends take patience. And you just have to practice with them. The more you practice, the better you're going to get, and the more you're going to figure out how it works. So see here, I'm just doing some circles on that edge. And by doing those circles, it's pushing that ink around a bit, and it's going to blend and shade very nicely. Okay, so let's keep going. We've got a few more pieces of our butterfly here that we need to blend and shade. Now another nice thing is if you blend it too much and say it gets too light, well that's okay. All you've got to do is just grab your marker, your dark Granny Apple Green. You can go in and you can certainly make it darker. That is not a problem at all. You can add some more color to it for sure. But this is going very nicely, and the color is just beautiful. I really like that gradation and how that works. So here we're on the bottom part of our butterfly, and again, let's just focus on the circles here at the bottom, and then once we start to get that blended, we can move up the side here of our butterfly. But we've got to get this bottom portion blended too. So once we get all this blended, we're going to kind of move up here to the side portion. See that? Oh, I just think that is so pretty. Okay, so we're well on our way, but now we've got to go and do the other side of our butterfly. So we're going to pull our dark Granny Apple Green back out, and we're going to do the exact same thing that we did on the other side. And so remember, we're just putting a deposit of the dark Granny Apple Green is all I'm doing now, and just adding it in here just along the back so that I can blend that out. And then down here, this one, remember we put a little bit down here and a little bit on the inside. And then we're going to add some Granny Apple Green down here, and then a little bit of dark on the inside of the butterfly and along the bottom. So just like that. All right, so now we need to blend. It's time to add some blend. And again, this is the light Granny Apple Green. And so I am going back over the dark because I do want, it sort of pushes the color through. And so that's why I'm kind of going back over the dark one up on that top piece. Now remember, we're doing our small circles. Now there's two ends to a Stampin' Blend. So there's a bullet end, and then there's this like sort of paintbrush end, I guess, or tip, pointed tip. I personally like this pointed tip the best, but again, you just need to try and figure out what works best for you. That's the beauty of the Stampin' Blends. There's so many ways that you can use these, but this is how I like to use them. And so you can see here, I'm going back over my circles, just a bunch of little circles, and it really does start to lighten up and pull the color. You just have to be patient. which in the kitchen I have no patience whatsoever. But when I'm crafting, I have a lot more patience. It's funny, my husband's like, okay, the boys don't have any patience when cooking, and I don't have any patience either. But I sure do try. I enjoy trying. So here we go. We're kind of moving to the bottom portion of our butterfly and adding those little circles. And I do kind of like leaving some lighter spots in here. Do you see how some of these spots are a little bit lighter? It's just beautiful when it's like that. So don't feel like, it all has to be the same color. The idea is to kind of have those light and dark areas, because it does just look lovely. So let's go down to the bottom of the butterfly, and let's finish this off, and then we'll color the inside of our butterfly. Okay, so again, some small circles, just trying to kind of break up that line and really sort of get some gradation and color going. Okay, so I think that looks wonderful. I think I am happy with that. I think that's really pretty. So, okay, so we're all done with that. Now let's move on and let's start with our lovely lipstick, okay? So I'm gonna take my lovely lipstick and I'm gonna start right here on my edge of my butterflies. And I'm just gonna add a little bit of lovely lipstick right in here on both sides, just like this. And might as well just go ahead and do it all at once, right? Why not? And then we're gonna go in with the light lovely lipstick, and we're gonna add some circles. And the reason for the circles, I know you guys already know, is we're gonna add the gradation and color. We're gonna go from dark into light lovely lipstick. Those little circles really help us do that. We're gonna move over to the other side. And you can see I've got my circles going, and then up here, let's just kind of keep on trucking. I love coloring with these. Just so much fun, and I feel so creative, so much like an artist when I use these. All right, so I'm gonna move on to my dark Daffodil Delight. And I'm really doing the same sort of thing, is I'm just kind of working the color. It may bring out a little bit of an orange when I start to go over the top, maybe not, but it does start to change the color a little bit. And I'm just gonna kind of try to soften that line. And this line that I'm trying to soften is the lovely lipstick. Now you could do, maybe a pumpkin pie, and the pumpkin pie would be in between your lovely lipstick and the Daffodil Delight if you'd like. So that is a possibility. And I'm just, again, doing the small circles, trying to pull the color. And I do actually go up onto the dark because I do want to pull the color down. So I am going all the way up here to the top of the lovely lipstick. And I'm just continuing on with my circles. Nothing too crazy. And then what we're going to do is we're going to grab our light Daffodil Delight and kind of finish off our card. That's right, and sort of finish it off. All right, so let's grab the light one and let's color back on top with the light one. And so now we're pulling the color down a little bit further. See how pretty that is? The light one is just, I don't know, it might be a little brighter because it's a little bit lighter. And so it really sort of adds a nice touch to it, doesn't it? I just think it adds such a lovely touch to it. And it really starts to kind of give it that sort of painted look, if you will. So we're just kind of working on the lines here in the bottom of the butterfly. And then we'll go over here and work on these lines. Just a little bit more, soften that yellow a little bit. And here, I don't know that you need to worry too much about circles quite as much because there's not as much space to work with. Really kind of going up and down and over that line is what your focus should be. And now if you don't have Daffodil Delight, you could certainly try to use the Pineapple Punch. Now that would be a beautiful color as well to use. All right, So I think this is it. Now that we have our butterfly colored, you guys might be going, okay, well the butterfly is cute, but you've got some ink on some of the lines, yikes, on some of the white embossing powder, or you know, embossed area. Well, that's okay. What I found is if you take your color corrector marker, or color lifter I should say, it actually lifts the color up off the embossing powder. So look at this, it just lifts it right up. So all I'm doing is I'm just gonna kind of go over my butterfly on the white embossing powder where I need that color lifted, and I can absolutely do that super easy. See? Super, super easy. And I am pulling that color up and just kind of wiping it onto my scrapping, you know, my scrap space here. And it just really works well. Look at that, see? And now we're just sort of cleaning up our butterfly a little bit. Just kind of go all around and make sure that I've got all of that ink off there so that it stays that bright white, so we can focus on the beauty of our butterfly. Okay, so I think that's it. So one last thing we're gonna do here is we're gonna cut out our butterfly. You definitely want the embossing powder, right? The embossed area. So we're just gonna cut really carefully around the butterfly and close to the embossed surface. It's not too hard. I mean, if you have some white, that's okay. It's not gonna hurt anything by any stretch. And more than likely, when you get up here to his antennas, you will absolutely have some of that white space. Because you know, they are little. So just kind of cut around them, just like this. And then I'll show you, oh wow, look at that. Now I have had questions about the bleeding on the back, and I just want you to know that that bleeding through with Stampin' Blends is totally normal. So if you have that, please don't worry. It is totally normal to bleed through the back because they're alcohol markers. All right, and I do have, if you're new to using alcohol markers, on brandyscards.com, if you go to this post, Beautiful Day, I will have my Stampin' Blend tips on how to be successful with your blends. I will have a PDF that you can download out there as well, and then that might even answer a few of your questions as you get started using your blends. So I'm just about done. There we go. Perfect. All right, so our butterfly is cut out. One of the last things we're gonna do is we're gonna stamp our sentiment and add our butterfly. So I'm gonna turn around, I'm gonna grab a I'm gonna grab a block because it appears that I may have forgotten a block. So I'm just gonna grab one of those out of there. And I am gonna use today, Always Thinking of You. On my last card I used, It's Your Time to Shine. But I think today I'm going to use I might use the sentiment that's actually inside the, what do I want to say? The stamp set case. So we're going to add that here. Just like that. And then what I'm going to do, and it looks like my little piece might be just a little small. So I do have plenty of scrap paper here. So I'm just going to go ahead and stamp it on a piece of scrap paper. And then we'll just cut it out and see what we get, all right? So let's do this. Let's stamp it right there. Oh, that's so pretty. Such a pretty sentiment, really. I really, really like it. All right, so I am just going to, you know, with crafting, there is no mistakes. You can totally improvise when you craft and make it your own. That is the beauty of crafting, is no one knows what it's supposed to look like. So the banner that I have on this one that's photographed, well, it didn't work out today. So we are just gonna cut our sentiment the way that we want, all right? And you see how pretty that is? That's just as pretty like that. Oh, I love it, okay. All right, so we've got that done. Now here, let me show you these. These are lovely. These are the Noble Peacock rhinestones, the jewel rhinestones. These are new this year. They are pretty fantastic, let me just tell you. And so you've got the different colors. We're gonna use this color right here. And I'm gonna just add this to the top of my butterfly's head, if you will, okay? And now we're going to pull in our card base. And I've got my vellum. And so here, you know, vellum can be a little tricky, of course, because you can see the adhesive through it. So what I'm going to do is just kind of say, okay, well, I can eyeball where my butterfly is going to be. So, you know, my vellum, you know, the glue for my vellum will probably be right in here and probably right in here, because that is where my butterfly is going to sit. And so you're going to go ahead and stick down your vellum, and you see my butterfly will cover that. I don't mind these pieces kind of wisping up a little bit. That doesn't bother me at all. As a matter of fact, I like when it does that. I'm going to add a mini glue dot behind my butterfly, and then I'm also going to add a couple of Stampin' Dimensionals. Now what I like to do is, because the butterfly is so big, I'm going to add 2 Stampin' Dimensionals like stuck on top of each other, right here at the top. And at the bottom, I'm going to only add 1. My idea behind that is so that hopefully it'll look like he's kind of fluttering. It's a little higher at the top. And then the center is stuck straight down. So I'm going to stick him down in the center, and then he's got his wings. And then we have our sentiment, which we're going to put right there. All right, so we're going to add our sentiment just right there. All right, now if you don't like the squigglies, you can certainly cut. You can certainly stamp on, you know, you could certainly stamp the always thinking of you in a straight line and cut it with your cutting board if you would like. I don't have my cutting board up here today, but you can certainly do that and get a nice straight line cut. And you can add your banner just like what I did with the other card. See this card here? And then I just added the banner. So you could do either one of those. And the banner was added using my snips. That's right. You could sometimes get creative with your punches if you have a punch that's got kind of that point where you can create a banner that way. But that is how I did it. And then you would just add it to the top of your card. All right? So I hope that you guys enjoyed my card today. This again was from the Beautiful Day stamp set, featuring those pretty peacock jewel rhinestones and our Stampin' Blends. So just a really fun card to make, and I think that it's a really neat place to start when you start working with your blends, really. It just gives you lots of flexibility and lots of opportunity to play with colors and blues and yellows and oranges. I mean, you can totally, you know, purples, totally mix it up and have some fun. So I really appreciate you stopping by today. If you don't already have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, please let me know. I'd love the opportunity to help you and earn your business. And if you're already a customer of Brandy's cards, thank you so much. I'm truly grateful for you and for your business, your friendships, and I love to see the projects and hear about what you're working on. You guys are awesome, and I'm just truly grateful, and I just love to have fun like y'all. So thank you so much for stopping by. I hope you have a blessed day. Bye, everybody.